Good evening, guys. Welcome to another lesson on React. In this lesson, we are going to be doing responding to events in React. React lets you add event handlers to your JXS. Event handlers are your own function that will be triggered in response to interaction like clicking, hovering, focusing for input, and so on. Obviously, you guys know how to deal with events in JavaScript. By this time, you guys should have no problem with that. Today's class is not supposed to be that difficult because you guys already know how event works in JavaScript. It's just going to be building on that knowledge. Let's look at how to add event handlers to our normal elements. What I want to do right now is I want to put a button somewhere here whereby we can add this item to kind of a cart. That's the kind of thing we want to do. Now we want to start triggering something to happen. That's the idea of event. Something needs to happen. All this while what we've been doing is just displaying. We've been, being able to move components, move elements from one place to another, which is fine. Now we want to be able to interact with those elements that we've created. So I'm going to quickly create elements for us. This time around, I'm creating a button, but it's a very nice button that has an icon. And because we've utilized all this utility too much, I'm going to break it up. This is too much in this file. I want us to be able to know what we are doing. And this kind of thing now they waste time on, but let's just do that. So I'm going to put data here. This is an asset. I'm just going to do data.js. So this one handles anything data. We have so much things in one place. Let us clean it. I have my products. I can now go ahead and create products so that I can come here and bring my products out. And this one is rating and favorites. Okay, let me group everything. Let me make everything stay on their own. Rating stays here, then remain favorites. So I'll just rename this guy to favorite straight away. Of course, we expect to see several errors. So let's start fixing all our errors. This one does not work anymore again because we now have individual things. So we're importing all these guys. So we import products, we import rating, then I bring my data from data. Then what else am I missing? My favorite from my favorite. The next page I need to clean up is saying that, okay, let me see what this one is complaining about. Okay, it's inside assets data. Okay, so we have this section. We're almost done. Let me look for another one that is complaining of. Okay, favorites does not provide default to export, and I think it's on all other ones as well. So we're having issue with data. Okay, so I've seen where the error starts from. Icon is not defined inside rating. So we're going to ratings now. So we didn't define icon inside rating. So what I want to do is I want to build a new component, and it's a button component I want to build such that it's unique and we can add our event to it. I want to call the component IconButton. Then I can do my JXX. I will just copy a boilerplate that I have here, and our button name is called IconButton. Instead of using our general button, I want to use IconButton. So props, I don't know the props I'm passing for now, but let's go ahead and build the regular button. Remember that the way it's going to look like, our icon needs to be somewhere, interesting, and our text needs to be somewhere. So you need to be able to factor that in and decide by yourself how you want it to look like. So before I go ahead and build these components, I want to use it to give you an imagination of how it will look like. So let's put it in the middle here. Remember that we've not built it, and there's a reason for that. So you have a choice to determine how your tag, your JXS will look like. Our error is coming from the fact that we didn't import what we are using, which is this icon button. That's where our error is coming from. So of course, if you want to use it, you have to import the button. Because what I want to do, I want you to see as it's happening, I want you to take a look and have an idea of what is going on. You can see that our button has taken shape, has taken position. So how do you want the button to look like is your choice. You could build the button around a tag and have a section for your icon and have a section for your text. I will just put something here. Let me just say button here. And as you can see, as we are building it, our text is coming up here. By default, we've not passed any props to it. We're just building our components live like this so that we can see the results. Then how do you want to capture the icon? You want to capture the icon before the text of the button. So you could say icon dot. So I'll just put anything. You will see how we can bring in the icon later on. So this is how our icon would look like. Then you can use CSS to align it. So we have something like this to work with. Okay, let's give it some styling. Okay, so we have btn, btn info. What I'm doing right now is Bootstrap, by the way. How would you be able to specify the kind of icon that you want? That's another thing we need to be able to define. So you want the icon to be dynamic such that in the button you can pass in an icon. You can then do like this and say that you want the user to be able to supply the icon that they want here. And this icon will be a JXS component. Remember, you guys know how to pass anything as a props now. So you can pass this and put that here. That can actually sit down here. So you won't need to import anything here because the components, the icon itself will be coming from here and it's just sitting right here. And you can pass it from where? Where are we passing this icon from? We're passing this icon from here, being the usage here, such that you could do icon is equal to, we're importing icons, and then specify the icon that you want. So we can still use that airplane just for you to see what is going on. So do you guys see what's happening now? I've been able to create a button that can accept icon as an icon, and then the next thing I want to do is for it to specify the text that I want it to say. Like I say, it's optional. You could do, text and put in your text there as a props, or you can use children, like the way that it was defined as HTML. You know that this is kind of HTML where we have this HTML button and the children here, or the content here, happens to be children. So if you want to use that same method, you can do children and put the children there. But I think text is better. So when you now pass in text, you can say, okay, render my text right there. So this part can form, this one you can then now say, you can see it's already referencing our text, but we are concerned about saying add to cart, and then we want our plane to be like a cat. And if you want to change the color of the button, you can just say style, so that you can then pass your own style by doing bt danger, for example. So this is Bootstrap style. So we want to pass this style across into this one. Then we can then say style, such that whatever is here, by default, the style should be what? The style should be, this is like a recap, guys. We've done all these things. So that the default will be here. So it will look like this. If you decide to change what this is, from it being a button danger, you can say warning. This is Bootstrap, guys. And then you have this. So let's move on to the show of today. Now that we've been able to add a customized button and it's looking nice, and this might not just be for button alone. Like, you can add events to anything, but we're using this as an example. Our favorite thing that we did here could also be a button. You could also use that to do the event stuff. And by the time we get to state management, we're going to use it to capture states. When I explain what state management is, you guys are going to understand that we're going to use that for that. So what I want to do now is to show you how to handle events, click events, the most easiest thing, right? In JavaScript, you guys know that to capture the click event on this, you do on click. Hope you guys have not forgotten. You do on click, and then what do? You write your JavaScript code in here. How does it work with React? It's follow primarily, in that line, but it's a little bit different. You can't just go ahead and write the same thing you do in JavaScript. You have to do something different. And what is that? First of all, to make it clear, your function needs to be written first. What you want to do, the event needs to be written first. In JavaScript, there's quite a whole lot of ways we capture events. There's event listener, there's capturing the object and assign on-click events to the function, all that. So the way we do it here is different. You write the function out. For here, we do handle click. That I want it to handle a click event. So I'm just writing a normal JavaScript function now. Handle click event, and what do I say will happen? Just say like alert. Just tell me hi. And that's all what I want it to do for now. Now, look at that function I've written. It's called handle click. This could literally be anything. Now, how do I tie this handle click to on click event here? This is a valid HTML attribute that is supposed to receive click events. Now, the way to assign it to this section is to do our curly braces and specify the event. But this is where the tricky part comes in. You are not going to do something like this. You're not going to call the function. If you do it this way, the code is going to go and call this function before it's clicked. So this way is the acceptable way in which you can reference to any event in React. What I've just done now, I've bounded the click event to the handle click I created. So how do we now see if this is working? So if you click here, you should see that button. The reason why we're not getting anything here is because we are inside VS Code, and because of insecurity is in a sandbox, so that can show. Let's do console log instead. And then let's see our debugging environment to see what's going on. Look at the bottom of the screen. That's our console. That's what we'll be looking at. So if I do 1, 2, 3 here, and I do add to cart, you can see my 1, 2, 3 on the bottom showing. So this one is what we are going to use to test all the things we're about to do, guys. So the next thing I want to show you guys is how to create inline events. Let's say you don't want to write a whole lot of these events like this. You want to just write a short event, just like what you will do in normal HTML. How do you do something like that here? Because you can't just write alert like this, or let's say console log. You can't write a JavaScript code inside here. JavaScript code that needs to execute. So you can't do something like this. Say hi. What you are telling this to do is that anytime this page renders, execute this JavaScript code. That's what this line means. Now notice on the bottom you have 8 highs. 8 highs, like it executed 8 times. So if I say hi 1, 2, 3, notice what happened. When this page refreshes, it ran 8 times. But that's not what you are trying to do. You are trying to say that whenever I click on this button, execute this. But what this does is that it executes what's inside here. So how do you make sure that your inline code works normally? Is by using a closure function. And a closure function, or an arrow function. A closure function, like I regularly write, is to write my function fully and write this empty argument and pass in the body of it my normal text or my normal expression of what I want to do. Now, if I now call this James 1, 2, 3, and I come here, you will see that James 1, 2, 3 will not be executed. That James 1, 2, 3 will only be executed if you click on this button. So you can see that on clicking on it, it has that stuff running. So what that means is that, and that also says to the fact that you can't call your function normally by just doing something like this. You can't call it by having it like this function call. Remember, in JavaScript, this is how you call a function. But we are not calling a function, we are assigning a function to a click event. So it has to be a closure or an arrow function. So the example of arrow function is you have a empty function or empty argument like this, then you have an arrow, then followed by this. So this denotes writing function bracket. So we can then do console.log, and you can do whatever you want to do here. So anything you write here now, it will show. Once you click, you have your ... there. Okay, let's move on. Let's do our normal execution like we said before. So these are our normal function, everything is fine. How can you, from this event now, say you want to know the text that was clicked or that was added in this title of this button? How can you use your function to manipulate it? So you can do that by going through the props here. All these props here are actually available to you in your function. So right now, to show you that, I can do console log and print out my text. Just to show that I can play with it, I will add something new. This is cool. And then I plus it, I add my value, I plus it, and then I put exclamation or something. I can say assessing props value. So let's check it out. So if I click here, you should see on the bottom say assessing value and value add to cart. So that means that I can actually access it from your function. So those data that you've passed to the JXS as props is available for you to use in your function. And you are not limited to one function, by the way. You can create as many functions as your components require to handle its own self. You can pass events as a props. What does that mean? What's the meaning of that? So let's go ahead and start doing something more fun by saying that, we have only one button. Let's go ahead and add two buttons. And the idea of adding two buttons is that you want to be able to, show how dynamic you created this button, and the idea is that we want it to be reusable. So let's see how reusable our buttons can be. Okay, so let's just go with this. And what we are trying to do right now is ability for us to be able to pass events as props. Remember that if you were dealing with normal button, do something like this on click and pass what? And pass function into your normal HTML button. So you should be able to do something like that in JXS. So how can you do like that? How can you specify your own custom events? You could say, for example, you know that there's on click in your HTML structure. Then you can call your own on smash or on touch, whatever you want to do. You can just create your own event. And let's say it's called on smash. You're creating your own event on smash. On smash, what should happen? You want some events to happen. Because the way you want to treat this button is that it's just a button. And you want to be able to pass another external function to happen on that button. That's what we're about to do now. So on smash now, what should you do? I will just say, I want to write an inline function, by the way, instead of going ahead to write other functions. Remember, how do you put an inline function? You can't just write alert. You can't just do console, guys. You can't just do console. You're in JXS, you're in React. So you have to do this shorthand to write this. This is what we have to do. This is option 1. The second option, I'm going to write it on the top so that you see both of them differently. Then you do on smash again. because we want them to do different functions. These are different buttons and you want them to do different things. Now this is me passing event as what? As props to our component, and it's supposed to handle it properly for us. Then if you want to write a long version, you can do function and do empty, this is a closure, empty argument followed by this. Then you can write your inline JavaScript inside here. So let's go ahead, these both of them are the same. Let's go ahead and just say our console works. So we're going to use console dot, I'm going to call this add item to cart. That's what this function is supposed to do. Then the second one, we're going to repeat the same thing and say console.log remove item from cart. So if you save that, you should have a more cleaner view. So you can see what's happening to our component that we've written, right? Apart from the fact that we've written a component that could carry icon, we've also do a component that could receive custom events. Apart from that, we've not implemented this on Smash. So let's go ahead and go and implement the on Smash. Remember, this your on Smash is what is a props, so it needs to be treated that way. How do you capture that in this case? So we go to our implementation, and of course you need to capture that in one of these parameters here. Anywhere you put it is fine. So let's put it in the front, since that's what we're dealing with at the moment. So you do on Smash, you need to be able to put it inside here like this, just the way we've handled this one inside here. The same thing you put like this inside here, and you will be fine. So let's see, and let's see if everything works well. Let's check out our terminal. Okay, let's watch the bottom here. So when we click on the first one there, notice what you have there, add item to cart. That's what you have here. So if you now click on delete, it will say remove item from cart. Do you see that on this component here, the component did not handle, let me remove this one. The component does not handle any function. What it just does is that from the app, you've determined what you want to do from the main app. You've determined that, oh, from this main app, you want to be able to add item, and the button should just go and do it. This button is just like a template for it to have a very nice effect, such that your operation is happening outside, irrelevant of what the button is doing. It doesn't concern the button. You just look pretty. Let me pass the function to you and then just execute it. So you've now created on Smash and it's working as on click inside the element. Note that every React component that you create is going to be leveraging on basic HTML components or basic HTML elements. Whatever sophisticated, how sophisticated your React elements might look, they are all on that. The main driving force of those elements are normal HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. You are not creating something new. They are going to be based on all these HTML components. As you can see, we are not doing anything special. We are bringing in all the things that we've been using and making it make sense to us this way. And by the way, what we've created here can actually be abstracted outside here. It doesn't have to be squished inside here. You could actually have your normal function that the responsibility of that function is to do what? Is to add to cart. Let's go ahead and create it. Function, and you say add to cart, and then you write your long function to add to cart. In fact, another good thing you can do, or another thing you can do, you can even have parameter that says you want to know the name or the ID. Let's say ID, yeah, the ID of what you are adding to cart. You want to pass it as a parameter, and here you can say adding item ID to cart. And let's quickly do for the delete. So say remove from cart. Say removing item ID from cart. So let's go and see the implementation. Now this is a function you've written outside, and then you want to make sure that the button is able to execute it based on your need. So if you come here, what you are then doing is that you are calling that function. So you call that function by doing like this. Add path. Where is the add? The first one is the add. Just for you to see what's going on. I'm calling the function. I want to put the ID inside here. For me to put the ID, I come to, where is the ID guy? Yeah, item ID. I do item ID. And we can do the same thing for the delete. So let me see the name, remove from cart. So let's give it a test. You can see, guys, adding item 3 to cart, removing item 3 from cart. Let's jump to another one. For the first one, adding item 1 to cart and removing item 1 from cart. We've created a button that will handle events thrown at it. What makes this button special was because of the icon. So the assignment I want you guys to go and do is pretty simple. I want you to go and do my first assignment that I give you guys on JavaScript, or the first class I did in JavaScript, to on and off a bulb.
Thank you for staying to the end. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on bell notification in order to be notified when we release new videos. See you in the next one.